Good. Said all along we got to get better day by day. I think we got better this week.
The wide receivers, you were happy with them on Monday when they talked to you. Did you see some good stuff from the backups?
Yeah, I think Woodyard's done some good things this week. He's definitely taken a step forward. Got to get Miles or Andre Hunt back healthy, and he was starting to show progress. That's position we're really thin at that position. Can't keep those guys out there that long, so we desperately need some of those guys to step up and be ready, and saw some improvement.
What's it going to take for Miles Jones to kind of find a role in this offense? You've traveled with him and tried to bring him.
You know, for a freshman to play, more than talent, it's how ready they are, how mature they are, how ready they are to attack everything and treat things like a pro. Miles does some really good things. It's got to be consistent, and you know, we just can't put somebody out there until they're completely ready. I think Miles is getting close, but we got to feel good about him being completely ready to be in that environment before we put him out there just like any other freshman.
Familiarity with Wisconsin. I know they haven't beaten Wisconsin recently, but their familiarity with Wisconsin. Did you feel like that came through this week? That they know a lot about that team, and did it help their preparation?
No, I didn't see that once. I'm not trying to be a jerk. You know, the familiarity comes. They play a defensive scheme that's similar to ours in some ways. They're odd against base people. I think we'll get some even nickel. It's some schemes that our guys are used to seeing. I don't know how familiar they are with the stadium or the personnel or anything like that. I got a lot of admiration for Wisconsin for what they've built up there. And I've said this often, they look a lot like Nebraska used to look, and that we want to look in some ways. So there's some things that I think will be familiar to the guys, but it's got to be a nameless, faceless opponent every week. And we're playing against our former selves. We just got to be better than we have been.
You guys have talked about how against Colorado you guys had some success offensively because they run a similar defensive scheme. Have you used some of those concepts this week in preparing for Wisconsin?
You know, we're going to be different every week. I think that makes us hard to prepare for. We can't do it quite as much as we want to this year because we got to make sure we can execute it well. But I think that did help us in the Colorado game to see at least a similar structure to what we've seen. And for at least part of the game, these guys are going to be in something that we're used to seeing.
Ryan talked about the two guys behind Divine as you both practicing well this week. Did you see that too? And do you think you can get something from all three of them?
Yeah, I think a couple of those guys had no choice but to step up because Divine practiced really well and it showed up in the game. How you practice on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is going to determine how you play in the game. Divine took a couple steps forward, and that's why we left him on the field the other day. Those other guys want to be on the field. They needed to follow suit, and I saw better play from those guys this week.
When you're at a difficult start like this, how valuable is your staff been just as a pick-me-up or an encouragement, because they've been through this before with you. They've all been through it. You've been through it with them. How much have you guys leaned on each other over the first month of the season?
Yeah, our staff's like family, and we have been through a hard year before. We lean on each other, and that's great. Usually you go outside the building, you can get some real positive things and some negative. None of that matters. It's all about what's in this building. This group of men are high-character guys that care about one another, and I've seen them fight through difficult times and get something fixed before. And I still just have no doubt we'll get it there. But it's not going to get there overnight. It's got to be every single day moving in the right direction, and these guys know how to do that.
What are the challenges for you as a play caller, knowing you'll probably have fewer offensive snaps to work with this week?
Yeah, it's a challenge. I remember being at Oregon and playing Stanford when they were really good. And I remember one drive we should have scored, and we didn't get the ball back for about 30 minutes of actual time on a clock. Not the game clock, but real time. And I could have left the press box and gone out to dinner and come back and still been there in time to call the next series. So we got to be efficient with the snaps we get. You get in a game like that and your defense gets some stops and gets us the ball back, that's when you got a chance. If we allow them just to march it down the field 4, 8, 2, 3, 9, and we don't see the ball, that's the kind of game they want to be in. And our defense has to step up and do well, and our offense has to be efficient when we have it.
You put JD back as a punt returner last game. Are you kind of eager to see if you can't maybe break him out a little bit there?
Yeah, we just got to be careful with a lot of these guys. You know, our depth isn't where we want it. We got to be careful with a lot of them not to run them into the ground, especially considering we're going to have to play 12 weeks in a row. JD has probably always been the best option to be back there, but we need him on the field for offense. So I'm excited to see what he can do. We got to block for him. We got to not get penalties on that and start in bad field position. But JD gives us a chance to make a play on that team.
Anything else, guys? Coach, I think you've answered the question on this before, but in your estimation, does the new redshirt rule actually allow players to transfer easier? Or is that just a misconception on our part?
You know, I'm not completely clear on that. I think it's kind of changed kids' perception of things. I know if you're going to be a graduate transfer and you have 1 year to play, that maybe not playing that year, using that as a red shirt and moving on where you're going to be immediately eligible. I can understand that. You know, I transferred and I played a whole year with my team, decided it wasn't the place for me, went somewhere else, sat out, and used that year as a red shirt. So if a kid leaves in the middle of a season, you know, number one, and not saying anything bad about anybody, but we're trying to preach team first. And anytime you're a part of something that's bigger than just yourself, it's special. And I want the kids to feel that. You know, you kind of feel like any kid that leaves in the middle of the season doesn't have those priorities. In some ways, you got to take care of yourself in this life, but anytime you're part of something that's bigger than yourself, it's even more special. Leaving in the middle of the year, unless I'm cloudy on the rules, they got to serve next year and sit out anyway, unless the rules changes. So I don't really see the advantage in it. I can understand if you're a senior and it's your last year to play and you still have a red shirt, of not burning the year on the bench. So I get that, but we got to see how all this stuff plays out.